Hello and welcome to the show. Today, we're going to look at the challenges of selling your fintech ideas, your fintech app, your fintech website, whatever it is in Nigeria. Now, why am I considering this topic now? Because fintechs are popular. They are the flavor of the day. Everybody seems to be starting a fintech right now, as at the date of this recording in 2024, because we are inundated all the time. You hear on the blogs, on LinkedIn, so on. So they raise, 2 million, 10 million, this $1 million, and it seems like a fancy idea. So I don't know if it's the greed, or rather, not greed. What's the word? Opportunism. So I don't know if it's opportunism, like the time has come, so everybody's going to throw their hat in the ring. But regardless of whatever it is that is making lots of fintechs spring up, I figured I might as well address that on the podcast from a sales and business development perspective to give some guidance to people who want to throw their hat into the fray, so that if any of you podcast listeners are thinking about starting a fintech, then this will be a valuable resource to you, or rather, I hope this will be a valuable resource to you. And if you know people who are thinking of starting fintechs, share this with them. It should be a valuable resource, especially since most people, when they are thinking about starting a tech startup, they're usually thinking about pitch deck, raising funds, all the sexy stuff, and all the things about selling at the end of the day turns out to be an afterthought, or maybe people are just freestyling. So, dear listener of the podcast, if you are an intending founder, or intending founders, or people who have existing fintechs with sales challenges, then please share not just this episode, but the next series of episodes with them. And hopefully, there's going to be some juicy nuggets here that they can use to help address the challenges that they're having selling their fintech ideas in Nigeria. So, first off, like I like to do, what is a fintech? I am just going to use an everyday simple definition. So these definitions that you're going to hear on this podcast are not meant to be exhaustive. They're not meant to be academically correct. They're not meant to be on point. They're just meant to give whoever it is that is listening to this podcast, if you're an everyday guy or girl, average intelligence, just enough for you to understand what it is that is going on here. So fintech, the way I would define it, is a business or an app or a website, or whatever bit of technology it is that the company or the people are using. But the key thing is they're going to be using a digital technology to improve the delivery of financial services. So if it's a mechanical tech, let's say like an ATM machine, then of course we're not going to call that a fintech. But if it is digital tech, like apps that Access Bank uses or something, or OPay or other of those companies, then yes, we can call those fintechs. So that's my own simple definition. A fintech, is it a business? Is it the app itself, the website itself, the underlying technology that they're using, whatever, but it's digital tech, and they are trying to improve how financial services are delivered in Nigeria. So in my own opinion, you meet these criteria, then you can call yourself a fintech. And there are examples of Nigerian fintechs, just in case a couple of us are not clear. So let's just start with the ones that are common, that most of us already interface with on a day-to-day basis. So mobile payments. There are companies that do mobile payments. There's this company, Paga. Paga has been around for a very, very, very long time. I'm not sure how long. I should have checked their website as research, but I know that they've been around for a very long time. People have been using them to pay for NEPA, to do transfers. I think at some point, is it like WIAC or JAM payments or something? I know that Paga was used to be huge for the payment space, online payment space. So people use them a lot. I've never used Paga, but I've had to use OPay. And that was back in, they started with, what's this guy's name? The last CBN governor, last Central Bank of Nigerian governor, Emefiele. So under Emefiele and Buhari, there was this whole cashless policy thing. They didn't want Nigerians to carry cash. You were limited to getting 20,000 at a time from ATMs, 5,000 per transaction, only one transaction per day. They were trying to change the old currency to new 1,000 naira notes, and the whole thing was just a mess. It caused a lot of headaches. But trust Nigerians. In our entrepreneurial spirit, there were lots of companies that rose up to fill in the void because back then, trying to make transactions through Nigerian regular banks was a nightmare. The infrastructure was not up to speed, payments bouncing, hanging, all sorts of things. So all sorts of companies were up on the scene, and that is where I first heard about OPay, and I've been using their services since then. In fact, when I go to the regular markets, just like neighborhood markets, and there are other vendors there, I prefer to deal with the people who have OPay ATMs because sorry, not ATMs, what are those things called? POS, yeah, POS machines. So I prefer to deal with the people who have the OPay POS machines because I haven't had any issues with them and stuff like that. So, for mobile payments between Paga, OPay, and the others in this family, there are lots of Nigerians, who are like you and me, who are still boots on the ground, who have to interact with these people on a day-to-day basis. So that's it. Those are examples of fintechs that we interact with every day. Okay, well, maybe not every day. For some of us, every week, because you have to go to the market at some point, or maybe you have to buy fuel, and it's an OPay ATM. So that's them. That's Nigerian fintech. And then, of course, online banking, because traditional banks also have their own payment platforms, their own apps, things like that. Those are also fintechs. Although nowadays, when people say fintechs, they mean people in the startup space. So they're not talking about people who are allied with Zenith Bank or Access Bank or any of these other banks, Nigerian banks over here. But still, that is also a kind of fintech. Then there's also robo advisors, robo short for robot, so robot advisors. And these are basically just automated, how will I put it? Automated platforms, more or less, automated investing, robots, computer scripts, things that are supposed to just either give you financial advice or help with portfolio management. Okay, well, when we say portfolio, how do we define portfolio now? Okay, let's just pretend that a portfolio is just a briefcase of money and all the things that you have valuable. So all your assets. So let's just say, yeah, that portfolio is your assets. So how much do you have in the bank? How much do you have in shares? How much do you have in real estate? How much do you have in, you get the point. Let's just pretend that if everything could be put in an actual portfolio, i.e. the suitcase, for those of us who are late 70s, early 80s kids, those briefcases that our fathers and, well, sometimes our moms used to carry around. So if you could put everything into that, that's your portfolio. So we have, there are some of these platforms that offer, like trading platforms, for instance, that will put in an order automatically depending on market conditions or to help you balance your portfolio so that the ratio of cash to gold to stock to when I say stock, I mean shares, company shares, stuff like that. So the whole idea behind robo advisors is that basically you just set the program and you forget it, and then the robot continues to monitor the performance of your portfolio and economic trends and just align things accordingly. So that is also a kind of a fintech. I do not know any Nigerian fintechs that are robo advisors, but my wife is in securities regulations, and when we just we hear about these sorts of things, that's people who are involved in the security space. Some companies who are involved in security space and have robo advisors, whether proprietary or not. Then there's crowdfunding. That is when you use online tech and stuff like that to connect people or businesses to other people who are looking for finance or people who are looking for a large pool of investors. So in Nigeria, there's Fundall, and I think I've heard of Thrive at Greek. I haven't done any research into them, but yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard of crowdfunding anyway. Then there's the newest kids on the block. That's blockchain. Yeah, the blockchain boys and girls. Those are the new ones. So blockchain. Okay, blockchain. Okay, how do I define this now? Okay, when you hear blockchain, technical terms, you think of distributed ledger. Now, what this means, distributed. Okay, when you hear distributed, just think different people. That means not one person. Now, when you hear ledger, think a store of record or a store of information. So the old school ledgers, back when some of us were in secondary school, the old school ledgers, before computers were popular in Nigeria, you would actually have, let's say your father used to sell stuff, like my father used to sell cement. There would actually have to be someone who would actually write down, 5 bags of cement sold at so and so price, and all those things are books of records that the what do you call them, bookkeepers, the bookkeepers would look at to reconcile accounts. So those are ledgers, but those are physical ledgers. Now, right now, computers are on the scene. Things have moved on. Some people still handle pen and paper, but you don't have to. And a blockchain is just a way of keeping ledgers, keeping records without using pen and paper. But the thing is, different people are the ones who are going to be keeping this same record. And this is just to make sure that transactions are authentic. People are trying to authenticate the transactions. So back in the day, my father selling cement, maybe your own father, if you're listening to this show, selling spare parts, or maybe your own mother selling what's it called, Ankara wrappers or whatever. So back in those days, 30, 30 30 years ago in Nigeria, somebody sitting down, writing it out on paper, times change. Maybe somebody writes it on Excel or store it on the phone, but that's the whole idea. So blockchain is just essentially a distributed ledger. You have lots of people keeping a ledger about transactions that have been happening, and everybody's trying to make sure that the transactions are legit, transactions are authentic. So there are some Nigerian startups that have been making noise here and there, people trying to use the blockchain to improve financial services and other kind of services. Now, there's been this crew that I've come across. I was chatting with their founder on LinkedIn. I think it's Kawe or something like. Sorry, no, is it Kawe or Akowe or something like that? Akowe or Kawe? I can't remember. But then what they're doing is they're using blockchain to authenticate academic records so that your transcripts can be available on the blockchain everywhere. Now, of course, for Nigerians, that makes lots of sense. It's not a fintech per se, but in Nigeria, we have some unique challenges. When you want to Jakba or you want to go for your masters, Jakba is what's the word? Emigration. So people are running out of Nigeria. They're trying to get to Canada and other places. So you're trying to Jakba or you want to go abroad for a master's. Depending on the school that you go to, because my own school, the best university in all of Africa, Obafemi Awolowo University. Unfortunately, Obafemi Awolowo University is not as progressive when it comes to technology. So back then, trying to get your transcript from OAU to Harvard or to wherever it is you want to study could be a nightmare. We would have to go there in person because in OAU, they wouldn't let somebody else pay on your behalf or initiate the process on your behalf. So you would have to leave where you were. I was in Kano at the time doing my youth service. So you would have to leave Kano, go all the way to OAU, make the application, pay, and then they wouldn't give you the transcript. I guess for security reasons, they wouldn't give you the transcript. They would send it to the university. So you would now have to wait for OAU, validate, draw up the records, process your payment, and then send it through registered NIPOST or whatever to Harvard. That's if you apply to Harvard, and then all the while your heart is beating in your chest like, I paid for this thing 2 weeks ago. Harvard hasn't gotten it. I paid for this thing 4 weeks ago. Harvard hasn't gotten it. Mogbe, is my transcript missing? Have they chopped my money? What's going on? So having a startup like this just makes a whole lot of sense because now, and funny enough, actually, when I was chatting with the guy, he was on his way to OAU, that's my university, and he got them to sign up for the idea, and I was impressed because back when I was in OAU, we didn't think Obafemi Awolowo University was a forward-thinking university, so I'm surprised that they're part of the pilot of this program. So right now, you can have your academic records on blockchain validated and instead of going through the hassle of what people like me had to go through a couple of years ago, which is travel back to your school, go to Senate office, pay the money, and then start pursuing them, start hassling them Have they sent it? Yes, they sent it on NiPost. Where is the tracker? Tracker is not working. And then you're wondering, it's been 1 week, it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks. My school has not received my transcript. What's going on? So with all this, this easily would remove a certain amount of stress involved in the process, because you just pay, OAU is already on the platform. I don't know how this thing is going to work. Let me guess, maybe Harvard or whoever is on the receiving end has to be on the platform as well. You open up, you know what, some of these things are beyond me, because I don't even know how you view things that are stored in the blockchain ledger. But bottom line, is these are supposed to be authentic academic records that have been issued by the Nigerian university and can be accessed by the Western universities on the other end. So even though this is not a fintech per se, because they're not really solving problems in the financial sector, but you get the gist. People are using blockchains. Nigerian boys and girls are using blockchain to try and solve some interesting problems and hoping to build businesses out of them. So this is just a small overview of what the fintech space is like in Nigeria. Now, if there's anything that I've left out, please connect with me on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn and let me know. Now, this episode you did was pretty cool, but you left out this, and that, or this is working in Nigeria. I've seen this kind of fintech in Nigeria. Shed some light on that as well. I'd love to do that so that people who are listening to the podcast get a good breath of what it is that is going on out there. What are young boys and young girls doing these days? What are the fintech startups that are out there? So connect with me on WhatsApp. My phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234 for those of you who are not Nigerian. Then on LinkedIn, my name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. You can confirm the spelling of my name from the link where you're listening to this episode. Then you can use the spelling of my name and hunt me down on socials. So send me invites on LinkedIn or wherever. LinkedIn, Instagram, anywhere, I'll accept. But to be honest, I'm on LinkedIn every day, so that's your best bet. On Instagram, I pop there maybe once a week. So, but if you want to catch me for a timely response, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, you'll get me. So thanks for your time and attention. In tomorrow's episode, since we're already at 20 minutes, we'll start looking at the challenges of selling your fintech ideas in Nigeria. So we've gone through the overview. Let's assume that you want to start one of these ideas, either in mobile payments, or you want to hook up something on online banking for your banks. You want to start a robo-advisor, you're doing some crowdfunding thing, or you have some fancy idea, quite like this Akowe startup or Kawe startup. I can't remember the name. Looking for ways that you can use blockchain in your fintech. So you've gotten the idea, you started raising funds, you're having problems selling the vision or selling the idea itself. So tomorrow and a couple of episodes after that, we'll start looking at how you use sales and business development skills to solve those problems. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.